AITA for being more excited about my mom's pregnancy than my stepmom's? I, 16F, have divorced parents. They divorced when I was 10 years old after my dad cheated. The court gave my parents 50-50 custody. My dad, 48, quickly married his mistress Molly, 36, fake name, and he also adopted Molly's two other kids, Grace, 10, and Oliver, 7, both fake names. I didn't find out about my dad's cheating until I was 13, and my uncle, on my mom's side, let it slip while drunk during a family gathering. When I confronted my dad, he tried denying it, but the stuttering and the red face gave it away. After that, I lost all respect for my dad and Molly. I don't like Molly. She split up my family and keeps trying to force a relationship between us, even introducing me to her friends as her daughter or her special daughter. I've asked her to stop, but she won't. She even tries calling me about random things when I'm at my mom's house. I used to pick up, but now I just ignore them. I don't see her as a mother figure, and I never will. My mom, 39, took the divorce hard, but slowly started rebuilding her life, and 2 years ago, she met Greg, 49. Greg is the greatest. He and I get on very well, and we have the same interests. He also doesn't try to force a relationship between us, and gives me all the space I need. Recently, my dad and Molly sat me, Grace and Oliver down to announce that Molly was pregnant. Grace and Oliver were ecstatic, and I congratulated them, but wasn't jumping up and down as much as Grace and Oliver. Something about her being the one to have my half-sibling is just wrong. The woman who split up a family is now starting her own with my dad. Well, not long after my mom came to me and told me she and Greg were expecting as well. Of course, I was more excited for this since my mom is like my best friend, Greg, and I have a fantastic relationship, and I know that they'd be great parents. I guess Molly realized I was quite happy about something and asked what. Here's where I might be the asshole. Instead of just saying my mom was pregnant, I kind of went on a rant about how excited I was and how I can't wait to meet the baby and how I wanted to plan a huge baby shower, etc. Molly nodded along and didn't say much else. I didn't think much of it until my dad came into my room that night and sat on my bed. He says Molly's feelings were really hurt that I didn't show the same excitement for her pregnancy than I did for my mom's, and that I shouldn't feel any different towards her because they are both carrying my half-siblings, and that I needed to apologize to her and fix my attitude. I listened to him, but the more he talked, the more angry I got. I told him that if she wasn't a homewrecker, then I'd be more happy, and they shouldn't expect the same treatment from me that I give my mom, because I have little respect for them and their blended family they forced down my throat. My dad went off at me, saying what he and my mom went through was none of my business, and if I wasn't such a brat, then I'd realize that him and Molly are trying their hardest to get through to me and have a relationship. He said I was 16 and needed to stop acting so juvenile, etc. He then took my phone. I'm typing this on my laptop, grounded me, and left without another word, refusing to hear me out. It's only Tuesday, and I still have a whole week until next Monday with them. Tensions are high, but honestly, I don't feel like apologizing or starting to act different around Molly. However, I know that he's my dad, and I probably shouldn't have called her a homewrecker and she's pregnant, but I just don't know what to do. So like AITA, should I apologize and move on? My husband has been grappling with anxiety and depression for about 15 months. The full story is on another subreddit I posted to a little while ago. When he was having bad days, he would say he was pathetic, useless, that he was a burden. I would always reassure him that he wasn't. He'd always struggled with self-esteem, and now things were tough, it was hitting him hard. It certainly didn't help that since going on to medication, he had struggled in the downstairs department. No matter how I reassured him, I could tell it bothered him, and those issues got worse and worse. In February, he told me he wanted to separate. Earlier this month, I came home early and heard him upstairs on the phone. I heard him make a moaning noise. I crept up the stairs. He was having an intimate moment with somebody over video. I went back downstairs. I noticed he'd left his computer unlocked. I went through it. To my shock and horror, I found explicit messages between him and an 18-year-old girl. The messages went back to mid-January. Right from the word go, they were very explicit, and within 2 weeks, they started saying I love you. We've been intimate since the separation. It just kinda happened. We talked about, and he said we were both adults with needs, and he wasn't seeing anyone. We've been being intimate quite regularly since then. No downstairs issues. But he's telling this girl that he loves her while doing this with me. He lies to her all the time. He told her he was divorced when they started talking. He invited me out with him to go to lunch, post-separation, but told her he was doing some shopping so he wouldn't be able to talk. They regularly talk about him flying out and see her. She lives overseas, later this year. They discuss what lies they'll tell her parents so she can sneak out to see him. When he came downstairs, I immediately confronted him. I asked him what he was doing with a teenage girl. He says he's not serious about her. I asked him why he tells her he loves her then. He says he doesn't know. I asked him what he would do if he found somebody his age talking to our daughter like that. He said he'd be angry, furious even. I asked him if he was leaving me for her. He said that wasn't true. A few days later, I saw messages between them mocking me for some of the things I said. She said my comment about what he would do if it was our daughter was precious and cute. This is absolutely not like him. We've best friends since high school. Even thinking back, with the benefit of what I now know, he has never hinted at such behavior. I've been thinking about talking to somebody in his friend or family group so they can talk to him. There are so many consequences to what he is doing, but I'm scared of what might happen if I do. I, 33M, Emma SAHD, stay-at-home dad. My wife and I have 3 children. Cal, 7, Tilly, 4, and Ro, 18 months. Cal is close in age to 2 of his cousins, aka SJL's kids. One is in the same grade and class at school as him, and the other is just a year old. SL typically takes her kids out to eat after school on Fridays, and she takes them window shopping and to an arcade. My wife and I let him go one time, and at the time SIL said she didn't really know where they'd go to eat. We asked her to avoid this specific restaurant for Cal's sake. He has nut allergies and has different levels of reactions depending on his closeness to them. This particular restaurant uses nuts in basically everything and uses a lot of nut oils while cooking. We went there as a family a little over a year ago for the first after being told they took allergies very seriously and had substations and very good standards for keeping allergens away from meals when needed. But the exposure while we were there still caused a reaction and we left without eating because it wasn't worth it. We explained this to her, but she still took them there and said she was extra careful, but he ended up being sick while there as a result of the allergy. It wasn't anaphylaxis, but it angered both my wife and myself. SL apologized and said she truly didn't see it being a big issue. My wife told her sister we had already explained we'd gone there, and he had a reaction. Estelle said she figured she could take extra precautions, and my wife told her sister she should have accepted the fact we didn't want him there and found somewhere else or not taken him. Turns out Estelle and her kids always go to this restaurant. They know it'll happen even though she asks about 4 or 5 other places nearby, which is why I don't want my son to join them on Fridays for their Friday expeditions. Estelle told me she wants to start taking Cal again, and her kids would love it, and since they're all so close in age it makes sense. I told her I couldn't allow it because I know where she takes them to eat, and it's not safe for Cal. SIL argued that they could end up somewhere else, and she learned her lesson. I asked if that meant 100% she wouldn't go to that restaurant or order food from there. She said she didn't have to. I told her that wasn't a definitive confirmation that she's avoided. She talked to my wife about it, and my wife agreed with me. SGL said we're denying the kids' precious cousin time, and Cal would be well taken care of. We said the safety of our son is number one. Estelle said I didn't give her a second chance to prove she had learned. And I told her she thought she had learned how to avoid it last time too. I said we don't have a lot of rules for taking our kids, but the healthy and safety aspect is something I won't ignore. I told her she could have always taken him for the window shopping and arcade and dropped him home if she wanted time, but safely, and she said she would feel like a monster leaving him out of the meal, and she could figure out a way to make everyone safe and happy. I told her I didn't trust her to avoid that place, and she wasn't winning my trust on that with anything. I asked her if she wanted to kill Cal, just to prove she could take him there without a reaction while we can't. She called me a bastard and said I was making it sound significantly worse than it is. That all she wanted was to include him, and she was willing to find a way. She said I was basically calling her an evil monster, and it wasn't fair. She tried to complain to my wife about what I said, but my wife backed me up and told her she wasn't reassuring us well, and she had the same concerns. SL complained to her husband next, and he told me I went too far, and saying she wanted to kill Cal was unfair. Maybe it was, but since she ignored the concerns we had and the past 2 incidents at the restaurant, I can't stop wondering how serious she is taking this. AITA? I, 45F, have a daughter, Lily, 17F. She is my only child, and I was raising her alone. Things were rough from the start with her, and as a side note, she had autism, which made it harder. Her father chose to end his own life when she was around 3, and she happened to peek in and see the aftermath. For about 5 years, she didn't actually understand that she was gone and believed he would come back. Eventually she got it, but she spiraled because of it and regressed in terms of ability, which felt disappointing since I worked hard to make sure she had the skills she needed. Through therapy, I was able to slowly coax her to behave normally again, but along the way there were so many things that blocked her progress. She began skin picking and often had open wounds, and to this day, she has some scars and slight nerve damage in some areas because of it. She hated long-sleeve clothing and would cry if she wasn't able to wear short sleeves, but I had to make her wear long sleeves/pants even in the summer so she couldn't feel the temptation to pick. I also tried exposure therapy to get her used to normal life, which included sending her to summer camp from ages 5 to 8, so she could get used to change and being away from home, but the camp ended up working things out so I would still have to take her home at the end of the day because she would throw tantrums sleeping overnight. I also would expose her to loud sounds until she stopped tantruming in public. At first it started with her getting violent as I played loud sounds, but eventually I got her to a place where she would either deal with it or move somewhere private/wait until home to release her feelings. One final thing was trying to wean her away from her comfort toy, which is a Minnie Mouse doll. Unfortunately, that didn't work, and even today she still has it, but I still have hope one day it'll stop. The issues and stress of everything lead to me having a breakdown, and I almost took the same route as her dad. I was hospitalized for a couple months, and during that time she was sent to her grandparents, my parents, until I was better, which unfortunately took a couple years. So from 11 to 14, I only got Yo visit occasionally, and I'll admit I may not have been the best parent at that time and said and did things I regretted, but again I did the best I could, and she should know this. Unfortunately, our relationship was demolished after this, and even now she is indifferent around me. She confronted me today with some articles she found on her phone about autistic trauma and things. She told me that her therapist had been telling her about these things and thinks a lot of it applies to her. She also pulled up something about masking and said I encouraged it and made her feel bad about herself for years and said it was unhealthy for her. I was appalled that she was accusing me of traumatizing her, and I told her that I was just helping her. She said I was hurting her instead. I swear she took all of what she said in that moment from a show because it didn't sound like something she would normally have said, and I told her that I made her an actual functioning human and she'd be worse off if I didn't. I brought up how I did exposure therapy to get her used to the real world and mentioned the whole mini doll thing, which ironically she had with her, and it ended with her screaming at me. As of now, she is back with her grandma who said I am a terrible mom and that she would have never had me if she knew I'd be so cruel. Hearing this from my own mom is hurting me so much, and now I'm wondering if I was wrong. AITA? My parents are divorced and share custody of me, 16M, which means I spend a week with my dad and a week with my mom and rotate it around. They get along pretty well, so there are times I might spend more time with one over the other, and they make it up without drama. So it's not a bad position to be in, and I know how lucky I am. When I was 10, my dad got married again. I get along fine with my stepmom, but my stepbrother, 15M, I don't like him. I know he's a little younger than me, and maybe I'm a jerk for our bad relationship, but I don't like him. The moving in together transition was rough. My stepbrother wanted us to share my room instead of having his own. I didn't want to, but he brought his stuff to my room anyway and tried to move in. My dad stepped in and told him there was a whole room waiting just for him and tried to make it positive, but my stepbrother resisted. My stepmom wanted us to trial run sharing, but Dad knew I wasn't on board, so he said it shouldn't be forced. She gave in and made her son move into his own room. But my stepbrother acted out for ages after that. Whenever I left for Mom's, I had to lock my door, same if I went to school or a friend's house. Anytime he was home, when I wasn't, he would try to mark his territory in my room and even moved some of his shit in. Then another time, he trashed my room. Dad made him clean up after himself, and my stepmom didn't complain or anything but I got the vibe she felt like I was unfair to him. Then my stepbrother got jealous anytime I got 1:1 with Dad, even though he got it too. He wanted to tag along for some of it. Dad told him we had family time for that stuff, but it was only fair for us both to get 1:1 time with me. My stepbrother looked for me to say I wanted him to come, but I didn't. He whined about that for ages after and gave me such a hard time. He said we were brothers now, and I didn't act like his. That's maybe what he wanted, but I didn't. He was super clingy too. Wanted to visit my mom's house when I was there. Wanted to tag along with my friends and bring his along. If we played video games for an hour, he'd expect me to spend more and more time with him or include him in other plans when we finished. My dad never forced me to include him in that stuff. He did make me promise that I wouldn't lose my temper if he annoyed me and to tell him or my stepmom if he was bugging me, and I kept that. He also asked me to give family time some enthusiasm, so maybe things could develop, and I did my best. But my dislike for him never changed. I find him too much and annoying when he doesn't get his way. He doesn't like being told no, and I find it frustrating. He's easily the worst part of being at dad's. It doesn't help that I have both parents and do stuff he'll never be able to, and I won't invite him. I see him as someone I tolerate because I love my dad. But that's it. Which is why I didn't include him in my birthday gift plan. My dad's a big hockey fan. He doesn't really ever attend any games because he prefers to spend his money on other stuff. So for his 40th birthday, I got him tickets and a jersey signed by his favorite player. It was expensive and it was big. Easily the biggest gift he got. My stepmom and stepbrother were upset. I let it be a gift just from me. She said it would have been better if it had been from both his boys, and that way he could have taken me to one game and my stepbrother to another without feeling bad. She said I knew he'd love it and should have considered the benefit to it being a joint gift. My stepbrother said he hates me and I ruin everything. My dad doesn't know. He was so excited. But I think he might find out about their issue with it soon because my stepbrother especially has changed toward me and he ignores me now, which I prefer. But I know it might bother my dad. I don't think he'll care that I didn't include my stepbrother, but I know things could get messy because of my choice. I turned 19 yesterday. I'm no contact with my mom, but found out she dropped off gifts. My family, on her side, took me to Pizza Hut, and I requested she not be invited as I'm not speaking to her. We've always had a rocky relationship, and I went no contact around 8 months ago after several issues, including being kicked out. During our last argument, she told me to go live with my dad and never come back, and I finally said, okay, bye, and meant it. She's manipulative and emotionally abusive, with severe mood swings. I once angrily suggested she get tested for bipolar, which runs in the family, though I regret the tone I used. She often threatened to kick me out and told me to live with my dad, even during childhood, which left me with trauma and abandonment issues. Though she never fully abandoned me, the perceived threat of it caused long-term harm. Since cutting her out, my life feels better. My mental health is still a work in progress. I'm on NHS waiting lists, but I've been happier without her in my life. I have no desire to reconnect, as I believe things would only fall back into a toxic cycle. She wrote me a letter after I cut contact, claiming accountability and expressing love, but I don't think she's changed, not this quickly. At dinner, my relatives defended her, saying she was trying her best, and all parents make mistakes. My aunt mentioned my mom spent my birthday at her friend's because seeing me would have been too painful, and she admitted my mom dropped off presents. She also did this at Christmas, and I felt conflicted but kept the gifts. My boyfriend pointed out that her overly generous gifts now seem like guilt buying, as they're much more lavish than before. For my birthday, she got me super dry clothes, which I like and will keep, and some typical mum-to-son fridge magnets, which I threw away, as they had personalized notes. My brother, who lives with her, urged me to thank her, saying it would mean a lot to her. I explained that texting her would give the impression she's regaining my trust and love, potentially reopening the door to a relationship I don't want. First off, Charlotte, you're a queen. Love your content. So, I, 33F, am a financial influencer. I help women invest, plan, and boss up their finances. I've built a solid rep, recognized on the street solid. Not flexing, just setting the scene. A while back, two real estate friends, let's call them Laura and Natalie, pitched me a women-led investing course. Given my childhood, dad disappeared, mom left to raise four kids solo. Financial independence for women is my ride-or-die mission. So of course I said yes. The course crushed it. Natalie also has a kick-ass following, so we filled spots fast and had a wait list. But after one course, Natalie tapped out. Public speaking wasn't her jam. Sad, but understandable. Enter Tanya, Laura's ambitious real estate buddy who really wanted in. Read. She wanted my audience. Laura, and I let her join. Tanya did sales, Laura handled money, and I built the tech, website, automations, mailing lists, you name it. We all did marketing, but since Tanya and Laura don't really have a following, about 70% of leads came from me. But red flags. Customers warned me Tanya had shady business dealings, but she explained it away, and I, foolishly, let it slide. Then Tanya and Laura pitched buying a property together. Turns out, they expected me to pay full price plus their full finder's fee for something they'd already do for themselves. It wasn't very friendly and really pissed me off since I helped them both out before for free, so I declined but stayed on for the courses. That's when Tanya started steering the course into let's upsell everything territory. I was about helping women. She was about making bank. We clashed hard. Refunds, bringing men into the course, affiliate payments, you name it. Laura played neutral Switzerland while Tanya bulldozed ahead. Eventually, I'd had enough. I told them I was stepping back, citing workload and family, even though it was mostly Tanya steamrolling me. I trained Laura on the systems and tried to exit gracefully without needless drama. Fast forward to the final course celebration. Tanya and Laura blindsided me on stage by announcing a huge reunion conference, with my face plastered everywhere, without even telling me. Awkward isn't the word. The irony? They did ask if it was cool to pitch personal consults at the final meeting, and I gave them the green light. Didn't realize I was also approving the backstab special. Furious and humiliated, I confronted them. Laura immediately apologized. Tanya? Deadpan told me it was none of my business because I chose to leave. Basically, she told me the business is hers now. I have zero say, and I'm the wicked witch for daring to walk away. I usually keep it classy, but this broke me. I snapped. The friendship? Fake. Tanya? About as emotionally available as a brick wall. So here's where I might be the a-hole. Since we never had a contract, we were friends, LOL. I got up and left, leaving them shocked and with the bill. Shut down the website, hosted on my server, pulled my followers from the mailing list, and dismantled the automations I built. I didn't touch what they contributed, but I did pull out everything that was mine, essentially cutting the business to 30% of its former glory. Now I'm sitting here wondering, was I safeguarding my work or just serving up some gourmet-level pettiness? My ex constantly locked me out of the bathroom, so I took matters into my own hands. I was with my ex for a while. It was an unhappy relationship. I had bladder control issues and IBS. Whenever I needed to go to the bathroom, they would run in first and take their sweet time just to irritate me and make me suffer. It went on for a long time, and one day, I just about had it. We had 2 cats and 2 litter boxes. One day, he went running to the bathroom and was just playing on his phone and plucking his face hair and refused to let me go, so I decided I would just go poop in the cat's litter box. Not only was it a big poop, but I also peed a little. The cats literally wouldn't use that litter box after, and then my ex came and was investigating it and saw. And he goes, "Wow, they pooped a lot, no wonder they want their box cleaned." And I just sat there and watched him clean up my shit and piss. That was near the end of our relationship, and he never found out. AITA for refusing to share my inheritance with my sister after she excluded me from her wedding? I, 28F, recently received an inheritance from our grandparents who passed away last year. They left a sum of money to be split between me and my sister, 32F. For context, my sister and I have had a strained relationship for years. 3 years ago, she got married in a lavish ceremony and deliberately didn't invite me. When I asked her why, she said her husband's family was paying for most of the wedding and they had a strict guest limit. I later found out through social media that several of her friends who I barely know were invited, and even some distant cousins we haven't seen in years. I was deeply hurt by this exclusion, especially since we're sisters. I tried to talk to her about it multiple times, but she always dismissed my feelings and said I was being dramatic. Fast forward to now. Our grandparents will specify that their money should be split equally between us, but there was a separate account with some investments that wasn't explicitly mentioned in the will. The executor of the estate, our uncle, said this account could be distributed at my discretion since I was the one who helped care for our grandparents in their final years. I visited weekly, helped with groceries, took them to appointments, etc. My sister visited maybe twice a year. This account amounts to about $15,000. I've decided to keep it for myself, considering the emotional damage from the wedding situation and the fact that I was the one who actually helped our grandparents. When my sister found out, she exploded at me, saying I was stealing her rightful inheritance and that family issues shouldn't affect financial matters. Our parents are split on the issue. Dad thinks I should share it equally, while Mom thinks I deserve it for the care I provided. So, AITA for keeping this extra inheritance money for myself?